Okay. All right. Here we go. Morning, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Where are you all coming from? As we're starting our live stream this morning, I would love to hear where in the world you hail from. Maybe in the chat, tell us like city, state, country, wherever you're coming from in the world. We'll do a little roll call before we get started. Glad to be here on a Friday morning. Hope you had a nice holiday. Merry Christmas if you were celebrating. Did Hanukkah and Christmas land on the same day this year? I feel like they did. So that was kind of neat. Let's see here. From Bangladesh, I love that. Cape Town, Debbie, that's amazing. Florida, we've got so many. Germany, Dallas, Texas, Colorado, a couple Colorados, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Dallas, France, South Africa. Good morning to you. Well, I don't know if it's morning there. It's morning here. It's probably evening there, maybe. Louisiana, Thailand, Berlin, Sydney, Australia, Hopkins, Minnesota. Love it, Sid. Right down the road. Oregon, Wilda, Miami, your student. Awesome. That's rad. South Sri Lanka, originally from Rochester, New York. Very cool. South Florida, Dallas. We got Arlington, Washington. Is that like DC? Let's see. South Africa. Hello from Canada. Oh my gosh. It's so good to see all of you. Good morning. Olympia, Illinois, Grenada. Brett says from Washington State. Okay, got it. Pennsylvania, ugh. Do you not like Pennsylvania? Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. This is Adam Ellenboss from NightLight Astrology. I'm doing a live stream this morning as a way of thanking you for a wonderful 2024 and all the ways you guys have helped grow the channel, and also to rally support for the last days of our Kickstarter campaign. We are still about like 950 backers away from our goal, and we have like 5 days left. So maybe even less than 5 days. I think it's like getting closer toward 4, whatever it is. We're almost at our closing hours of the Kickstarter, and we still need, we've only made it to about 50% of our goal so far. So we have a huge amount of support that we still need to rally in the last moments. So I'm going live today to bang the drum and get as many donations as we can for the channel to support the free content of this channel in the year ahead. And to support all of the good things that we do at NightLight, including making sure that all of the services that we offer are affordable, using our platform to build the success of other astrologers. And I want to thank you. Some people have put super chats, like you put $20. Someone just put, Wes, thank you so much for this super chat of $20. It's super appreciated. Unfortunately, unless people use the Kickstarter, it doesn't help us with our goal. So please do use the Kickstarter link. I'll tell you how to use that in a minute. But thank you, Wes. I don't mean to look a gift horse in the mouth. I really do appreciate that. But you have to use the Kickstarter link for it to help us. The Kickstarter link can be found here. I'm going to drop it into the chat, and I'm going to tell you about the Kickstarter in a minute, and also about what we're going to do today, and then we'll get going. Okay, so let's see here. Here is the link dropped into the comments section, the live stream. If you're listening to the recording of this later today, you can find the link to donate and support the channel in the comments section of the post pinned to the top in the description of the video, or head over to the website, nightlightastrology.com. Click on the 2025 Kickstarter link, take you over there. $5, $10, $20, all donations mean a great deal. We do need people to use the Kickstarter link to donate, because that's how it's all aggregated. So, yeah. Let's see here. So what are we going to do today? We're going to have a Q&A session, a lively Q&A session where I take your questions. Not only that, but I'm very excited to welcome a whole bunch of NightLight staffers with me today who are going to help me with the Q&A. And we are all collectively going to have some conversation and some time to try to field your questions. I'm also going to introduce you to them because they comprise our affordable reading service staff. So if you want to get a reading at NightLight in the new year, last year you helped us through the success of the Kickstarter build out an affordable reading service where all of the readings that come in are, there's tiers. So you go over to the reading page and you can book a reading, and there's different tiered pricing for different budgets and income levels. And we are really, really proud of that kind of accessibility that we offer at NightLight. So I'm going to introduce you to the staff and let you know how you can book a really affordable reading with them in the new year, and also how you can support the channel in the year ahead. And so anyway, and they're going to help me also talk about why the school is fantastic, why you should think about coming and studying with us in the new year. That's going to be a big part of what we do as well. So, yeah, why don't we start with a little bit of the Kickstarter campaign, and then I'm going to invite some staffers in, and we're going to try to take your questions. So think about what questions you want to be asking. You can ask anything you want to know about astrology. You can ask questions about the programs. You got our staff here that's going to be here to answer questions about the programs. You can ask questions about me as a content creator. If that's something you have a question for me about, people like to get to know the people that create the content. That's always fun. So whatever questions you have, we'll take those in a minute. So in the meantime, we are, as of the time that I'm making this live stream on Friday morning, we are at, let me just refresh and make sure I've got the latest. Yeah, we're at 988 backers. We need 1,937. So that means that we are a little less than 1,000 away. We're like halfway there. We need 900 plus more backers between now and New Year's Eve at midnight. So I'm going to take you over to the Kickstarter campaign right now, and I'm going to tell you more about how you can donate and the kinds of gifts that we offer when you donate, and why it matters. So here's the Kickstarter campaign. You can find the link on nightlightastrology.com. And you can click on the 2025 Kickstarter link to be taken over there. Otherwise, I'll drop it into the comments section again one more time, so you can find your way over there. You're going to see when you scroll down on the right-hand side, there's a little box that says support, make a pledge without a reward. If you just want to donate $5, that counts. Every backer counts. To get to our total backer goal, we need donations of all different kinds from all different ranges. So, a $5 donation matters as much to us in the end as all the rest. So you can make a pledge there. When you scroll down, there are some rewards that you can choose. The Astrology of 2025 calendar is a PDF that we create, the staff creates, and it includes all of the major transits of the year ahead. And therefore, you can know in advance exactly what kind of stuff I'm going to be talking about on the channel week in and week out, year round. So it's just a really nice, simple, like kind of entry level. That's a $25 level. If you scroll down, the Astrology of 2025 video at the $50 level is going to give you a lengthy talk on the astrology of the year ahead. So this is exclusive content. I don't release this on my channel. In this video, when you pledge at this level at $50, you're going to get an audio video download. You can listen to it on whatever device you want. And it's going to be me with charts breaking down all of the major astrological transits of 2025. So that's a good reward. The Oracle Speaks is the book that I'm writing. I'm 7 chapters into the 12 chapters that I have outlined. And what you're getting is the audio and the audio chapters, the audio book version, and the text chapters before they are published in print form. So that's something that we did last year. We're doing it again this year. So you can join in on the process of seeing the first draft of my book, which is all about divination. And it's a storytelling book, has to do with the stories that illustrate how a person gets to know and develops a relationship with an oracle. I think you'll find it really relatable because I think the stories I share are pretty universal. The year ahead horoscope video is probably the best value. It's a $100 donation. And here you're getting in-depth horoscope analysis covering all the major astrological transits of the year ahead for all 12 signs. So this is like 8+ hours worth of content. This is, you like your horoscope for the month video, imagine an 8-hour long horoscope for the year that covers all 12 signs. Definitely one of our most popular. 126 of our backers have already selected that one. It's like a little bit, almost like 1/10. 1 out of every 10 backers has gotten that one. That's pretty cool. Scroll down further, you're going to find our classes. So you will find that there are previous master classes that are all about 8 to 10 hours worth of content on specific topics in astrology. So we've cataloged some of them here through the Kickstarter. There's one on the magic and mystery of the fixed stars, one on the transits of the outer planets, one on the lunar nodes in ancient astrology, and then one on the archetypes of the astrologer, which has to do with the different types of astrologer that there are and how to know what type you might be. Then we have an Astrology for Complete Beginners course. This is ideal for people who are brand spanking new to astrology, or maybe somebody in your life who's new to astrology. So you can check that one out. And then you're going to see the reading service that I offer, which is Ask 3 Horary questions. This is a great deal because you're getting a really big discount on the horary readings that I offer through my website. And you can ask 3 of them throughout the year. You email me anytime you've got a burning question, and I send you the horary chart and the analysis, which is a predictive technique. So, for example, many people will send me questions like, will I get the job? Or, will we move in together? Or will this business be successful if I launch it? So kind of yes, no predictive questions are the subject of Horary. And that's a great reading service that is available through the Kickstarter. You're going to find that the masterclasses are also bundled. So if you want to get all of 2023's masterclasses, you can get that for $400. That's a huge deal. And that's about 40 hours worth of content. And you'll see the individual topics listed below that are a part of that bundle. Then you'll see the 2024 Masterclass bundle, which includes a different set of topics, and again, about 40 hours worth of content. Our Roots and Spheres Moon Circle begins next Thursday. We meet under new and full moons year-round. We discuss the astrology, we process the astrology, we ritualize our lives in sync with the astrology, and we diet specific plant teachers, herbal plant medicines, all safe, non-entheogenic, but you will have a great inner spiritual connection with these plants that we work with throughout the year, synced up with the moon cycle. So if you're someone who's looking for community, processing, ritual, experiential dynamics with astrology, if you're someone who'd like for astrology to become more experiential, join our Moon Circle. It's a great group. It's a small, intimate group. As the year goes on, we spend time together just living the astrology and trying to ritualize it. So that Roots and Spheres Moon Circle class, as soon as you register for it, we also reach out to you and get you plugged in since it starts next week. That's a good deal on that too, several $100s off the normal cost. Then there's the 2025 Masterclass series. That Masterclass series begins in January, and I will be exploring all of the houses connected by trine. So you might have heard me in my recent series talking about, or my recent horoscopes talking about the Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha houses. We're going to be looking at those houses that are all connected by trines in the chart through the 2025 Masterclass series. So it's a little advanced topic in ancient astrology. Now, my wife, Ashley, you all know her, and she has her YouTube channel. She'll come on mine from time to time and help us understand some connections between planets and plants. Her Herbal Foundations apprenticeship course, her first and second year, are also on sale through the Kickstarter. So those courses Ashley's been teaching for over a decade. She took a short break, a little bit of almost like a maternity leave, and then she's back to work now doing those classes. So some of you who may not know her or us as well. She's been teaching that class for, well over a decade. She's got a master's in clinical herbal medicine. So if you like herbs, check those classes out for sure. Finally, the creme de la creme, the best deals that we offer through the Kickstarter are on our courses. We have 4 years worth of professional astrological curriculum, 3 years in Hellenistic astrology with an archetypal psychological kind of twist. All of our classes are sort of steeped in archetypal and psychological astrology, but they're also Hellenistic. So if you want to come study with us, our year 1 program, our year 2 and year 3 programs, as well as our Horary course, which is something we add in to help people sharpen their predictive skills as natal astrologers. Those classes are all on sale through the Kickstarter. And when you bundle them together, so the one class takes you about $400 off our early bird rate. You get to 2 classes and you're getting down to about 50% off the normal cost of the course. And if you get to 3 courses or 4 courses, the individual cost of each class goes to about 75% off. So really, really good sales on all of our classes. Come study with us. You can renew those anytime you want. So they don't expire. You can use them in 2025, 2026. You can take them at whatever pace you want. All of our classes are recorded in addition to being live. So you can attend live or follow along with recordings at your own pace. And we have a wonderful staff of people that make the programs what they are, a community learning experience. So it's not just me. I'm the primary teacher, obviously, but you're going to be working with course directors, tutors, and a whole team of people that are there to make sure that your experience, both in and outside of class, is really special. So on that note, what we need is support. We are at, you can see here, we just are about 2 backers away from 1,000. That's fantastic. But just to give you an idea, in order to get to 1,936 backers, which we did last year, at the end of the 27th of December last year, we were at 1,165 backers, which means right now we are about 1,167 backers behind last year's pace. If we're going to match our goal from last year, which is the bare minimum that we hope to do, is just match what we did last year or do better, we need to pick up the pace greatly over the weekend here. Every single donation matters. A $5 donation, a $10 donation matters as much as if you pick up a class pass and come study with us. If you value this channel, here are the check marks that I would say. Do you laugh? Do you have fun? Do you learn something? Is this a place that you subscribe to and watch regularly? Do you rely on us and our team for education? Do you rely on us for things like your horoscopes? Do you rely on Alex and Dana and myself, or Whitney and Alexandra and myself to break down your astrology? Do you get spiritual and philosophical insights from the channel? Do you feel like you have a place that is spiritually supportive with your path in astrology? If you can click yes on any of those little boxes, then please consider supporting us, because a channel like this and the model of this channel, we don't use subscriptions or paywalls for our content. We just make it free, and we try to make sure that nobody is priced out of any of our programs. Nobody is priced out of anything we do, including our reading service, because that model, it doesn't work unless people who value this content, who actually get something out of it, say it's worth $5. It's worth $10 to me. I could just watch it for free because there's a ton of free content. And, but you look inside and you say, no, you know what? I value this. There's a hardworking team of people, a staff of 11 people, a full-time social media person. And so I'm going to support this because I believe in this channel. I believe in the good work that they're doing. So if you can click yes on those boxes and help us, we deeply appreciate it. We really need it. We have just a few days left to get there. So, all right, on that note, Kickstarter pitch over. Let's get into some Q&A. I'd really love to hear where you guys are coming from and what kinds of questions you have for us. What I'm going to do now is I'm also going to call onto the channel a bunch of people from NightLight so you guys can meet everybody. All right. By the way, the link to donate, I see a few people asking. Here's the link to donate. You can also go to nightlightastrology.com and just click on the 2025 Kickstarter link. Here's another box you can check. If you come here and you stand in line for a free reading, or you submit your your information for a free reading, consider giving $5 to the channel. Support it. Okay. On that note, Sushila and Meg and Aaron and Raimundo and Mark and Casey and Emily and Ryan. Hello. Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Good to see you guys. Welcome. I would like everybody. You are looking at the people that are a part of what you support when you support NightLight. You're looking at some of our readers, some of our staff. You're looking at students from NightLight who are now doing affordable reading services for us. So I want to say a little bit about them and also just point you over to the reading service so you can check it out. Let me, I'm going to pull it up on the screen here, first of all. So in Saffron, you're like there, but your video isn't on, so I can't bring you on. I'm not sure what's going on there. If she's sending a message in Slack, I can't see it, so I don't know if you guys can, but all right. Okay, so here is nightlightastrology.com. See the little 2025 Kickstarter tab. That's how you get over to donate. Go to, excuse me, go to book a reading on our website, need-based astrology readings. Guess what? It was your support in the Kickstarter last year that helped us build this. So you scroll down, what you're going to find are we have tiers of different pricing available for people so that you have affordable reading services. So on the top tier, we have our course directors, Saffron, who is in the waiting room, but not on the camera. So I'm not sure. Hopefully she'll join us in a second. Meg, who is here with us today, she is course director for our year 1 and 2 program and your lead tutor for those programs when you come and study with us. Raimundo, who is our Horary course director. And these fine people you can book readings with. Now, then you scroll down and you're going to see that we also have some of our tutors. So Anita, Erica, Marjorie, and Aaron are tutors in our year 1, 2, 3, and Horary programs. And you can book a reading with them. They are all fantastic readers. And you scroll, and that goes from the top tier for our course directors is at $159. The tutoring tier goes down to $89, although they are all fantastic. And then you scroll down to the bottom tier and you will find these are some of our current students and alumni who are in our advanced programs, who are very talented and are in the process of building their own careers. So here you'll find Ryan, Mark, Casey, Emily, and Sushila, and they are all absolutely fantastic at what they do. This is a reading tier that's at $49. And what happens is for our student readers, this is an opportunity for them to build their practice, and it's an opportunity for us to give back to the community of affordable reading service. It's really crucial when you're starting out, you have talent, but you have to build a client base that you get experiences to do so. We don't take a cut from this either. So the readers here, our student readers get to keep what they earn too. We take nothing from them. So it's a good way for them to earn a little money, build their career, get experience, and also for us to offer something that's accessible for people. When I started my career, the first entire year of my practice, I did absolutely every reading by donation. And so that's a part of the model that we use in at NightLight. Anyway, so you'll find all of these fantastic people are available for readings. Let's just take a minute to maybe I want to introduce you to our staff and some of our readers. So first I'm going to introduce Meg. She is our course director for year 1 and year 2. And Meg, like just talk a little bit about your journey with astrology and what you do at NightLight.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So as Adam mentioned, I am the course director for the year 1 and year 2 programs. So I started I started as a student at NightLight a couple years ago, sort of on a whim. Just a few days before the year 1 class began in November, I reached out about the tuition assistance, seeing if it would be possible for me. And yeah, ended up joining the class kind of last minute. And it was just I'm not really sure what I was expecting. I think I was, I had gotten to a point in my self-study of astrology that, I'd like kind of hit a couple walls where I was just like, I need some guided support here. I need a mentor. And I really, really resonated with Adam's content. And anyway, it just ended up being like one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. Yeah, it was, I wasn't sure. Yeah, I wasn't really sure what to expect, but it was just like a really, really profound experience, both, educationally and spiritually. And I didn't join thinking that I would ever be reading charts professionally, but just kind of happened somewhere along the way, and here we are. Um, so yeah, I guess yeah, Adam, what would be helpful to mention about the year one and year two programs?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that would be nice that not everybody knows is what happens in between our units of study. So we
Oh
work our way through some curriculum, and then you guys play a really important role.
yeah. So in between the major units of study, there'll be about 2 or 3 classes for each unit. As we work through, we start out with the history and philosophy and metaphysical and astronomical roots of astrology, and then we move on to the 7 traditional planets, and then we move on to the zodiac and the houses. So in between each of those units, there are breakout study sessions, which are interactive, more casual sessions where students can come and we review the materials. Students can ask questions, and they're a lot of fun. They're great, and students seem to really enjoy those and get a lot out of them. And the study sessions, like the classes, it's great if you can attend live, but if you can't, they are recorded and you can review them after the fact. And yeah, I mean, I just really can't recommend, if you're on the fence about starting the year one program, I really can't recommend it enough. I don't really know, how else to say that other than I think it's such a great, it's just a great decision. It's really, y- y- even if you can't make it live, having the recordings all available to view and review at your own pace is so valuable. And I don't think that, with the tuition assistance available and the really fantastic prices through the Kickstarter, I think there's a very, very low risk and potentially very high reward. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Meg. Really
yeah.
appreciate that. And you also, you can book a reading with Meg through the reading service that I just mentioned on nightlightastrology.com. Absolutely fantastic reader. So can't say enough about that. Raimundo, you are the Horary course director. Tell us a little bit about the Horary course and what role you play.
Hi, everyone. I am the course director of the Horary course in NightLight Astrology. So the Horary course is a really good way to fine-tune your predictive abilities. So I highly recommend that. The kinds of questions that we can tackle with Horary are very straightforward and very predictive oriented. So and apart from that, everything that we learn from there, we can actually plug it back into our practice in birth chart readings to focus our, our antenna to pick up signals from the chart. So the program starts with a little bit of the background of Horary practice from Adam Ellenbas. And we quickly jump into some basic techniques and tools that we need to gather with us to tackle the Horary, the different kinds of topics that we're going to go through in the course. And throughout the year, just like year one and year two, we will have breakout study sessions where we answer your questions. And we also challenge you guys to try to figure out some, mind-boggling questions that will help you get better and better at your Horary practice. And this is a very practical course as well. This is a little bit different from year 1, year 2, where we see many examples from our live classes and from the study sessions. So you're very welcome to join us in this course, and I'm sure that you're going to be you're going to have your mind blown because of how Horary works. That's what it did to me, and I'm sure that you guys will love it.
Yeah, Horary really is incredibly magical, and it requires a very specific set of skills that we learn. But the most important thing that it requires is humility and patience, because learning to do an advanced form of predictive astrology is really difficult. And Raimundo is about as humble and patient as they come. And so it's just amazing to have him as a course director. You will benefit tremendously studying with him and myself. And also Aaron, who is our tutor for the Horary course. I'm going to introduce Aaron in a minute too. It is really a privilege to be able to introduce you to all the people, so that when I say, hey, when you support NightLight, you're supporting an entire team of people. You're supporting an entire group of people that creates an affordable, accessible, highly supported community kind of environment for learning astrology. The channel is a huge outlet for daily free content. But when you come into NightLight, you're getting a group of people, 50% of whom are on usually a very significant form of tuition assistance. And so NightLight is a super inclusive place when it comes to socioeconomic diversity. We don't just get you in the door, we take care of you once you're here. It's really important to us. Our team is super caring group of people who really care about your journey as an astrologer. Raimundo is also available for readings, and easily one of the most sensitive, best readers that I've come across in years of training astrologers. I've been training astrologers for going on 15 years, and you couldn't get a better reading than sitting down with Raimundo. So I highly recommend checking him out through the reading service, booking a natal reading with him. He's a fantastic astrologer, as are everybody here today. So I'm really excited. Saffron is our year 3 course director. She is also like the executive assistant and mother bear behind the scenes of everything at NightLight, from enrollment to administrative things to like organization of all of the classes. And she's also a seasoned, longtime veteran astrologer, specializes in gemstones. If you also come to our Roots and Spheres circle, every month you're going to get a gemstone that we are working with that comes straight from Saffron's practice with gemstones and gemstone healing. So Saffron, could you tell us a little bit about, and I might have to unmute you. There we go. I'm going to unmute you. Tell us about year 3 and what you do as a course director and other stuff that you do at NightLight.
Well, year 3 is very special. When people write in and they ask, what's year 3 about? And it's actually quite difficult to explain it in an email. So hopefully we'll try and do that here. And I think everybody here has been through the year 3, so they can attest to it as well. Your 8 lectures that you do at the beginning of the class are just absolute gold. And again, can't explain those to anybody. Emily's, gold. Absolutely. And what we do, Erica, who is not here, unfortunately, today, she couldn't make it, but Erica and myself, we run the study sessions, and they're more an extracurricular session than they are a study session, because we like to try and help people out with their business models. Where do you get with, where do you go forward from when you finished your studies with us? Because year 3 is generally the last port of call for some people, even though we have had a lot of people come back, already signing up again for this year coming up. So, if you are thinking, I really miss NightLight already, I want to come back for year 3, then, come back. We're quite happy to, see our favorite faces. I know Ryan's coming back, and a few people are coming back, so it's good to see. So we help out with also just looking at what it means to be an astrologer. Where do you sit in your astrology? Where are you planning to move forward once you've finished your studies? What type of astrologer do you want to be? Do you want to be a reader? Not everybody wants to be a reader reading individual charts. Some people want to study, so this last year gives you the chance to sort of like decide where you want to sit in the astrological world. Some of you may want to be the next Adam and, push him off his throne. Who knows? So that's what we do in year 3. Do you want me to talk about roots and spheres?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So roots and spheres. Aaron is the teaching assistant, and so she'll be talking to you in a minute. But Aaron supports in roots and spheres as well. So as Adam says, we do discuss. Obviously, Ashley gives us the main part of the prescription of the herb. And the last year, so Ashley did that from year 1. Year 2, as in 2024, we brought in the crystals, because Adam was very kind enough to say, "Oh, Saffron, you do crystals." So we done that this year. We're carrying that on again in 2025. And I just basically suggest a stone that I think is going to work with that cycle from the beginning of the new moon all the way through. And I've actually been really... I've been really surprised, and it's actually humbling to see how many people have connected to the use of the crystals, and have found in some cases people have really connected to them to a point that they're actually giving them to family members. There are a lot of people who are giving them to their children or their grandchildren as gifts, and it's becoming something that they're bonding with, which I wasn't expecting. So there are so many parts of roots and spheres that makes it a community. NightLight's a community anyway, but Roots and Spheres really is that heart and soul of, people come every month to talk to each other. It's a safe, sacred space, which is all part of what we try and do here at NightLight anyway. So, it's hopefully, you'll come either to the Roots and Spheres class, or you're already in year 1 and 2 and thinking, shall I join year 3? Yeah, join year 3. And if you've already done it, come back and do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I'll say about Saffron is that Saffron is really for our year 3 program, which focuses on the development of counseling skills with Hellenistic astrology. You couldn't ask for a better person to help you build this bridge between these very meticulous and powerful predictive abilities that you develop in our programs, and then the care and sensitivity to apply them to human beings. And having Saffron as a big part of our guidance across that bridge from technique and theory to care and counseling is a real blessing, because Saffron has just a mother and a grandmother's touch. She's both, and a healer's touch. And so and all of our client interactions are also led by Saffron. And there's a reason for that, because we want everyone's experience, whether it's a routine, email about class, or learning to talk to human beings about their troubles using Hellenistic astrology. We want sensitive people doing that. So that's why I'm so glad to have Saffron on staff. And the reading service that I mentioned, you can also book a reading with Saffron through that service, and sit down and talk about your chart with her. It's absolutely delightful, especially if you're from the United States, because we have fairy tale imaginations. If you speak to someone who has a British accent or an English accent, it automatically makes the reading more magical for us, because we're that simple-minded over here. I'm just kidding. But so anyway, Saffron, thank you. I'm going to introduce some of our tutors as well. So Aaron, everyone else is a student reader. Aaron is one of our tutors on staff. Tell us a little bit about the roles that you play at NightLight, what you've enjoyed about being at NightLight, and what you also what you would recommend to people at NightLight, what your favorite pieces have been, because you've been through all of our programs.
Yeah. I am a tutor for the Horary program and for the Roots and Spheres Moon Circle. I hang out in the forums and answer questions. Yeah, I'm probably biased, but I suppose those are my 2 favorite programs at NightLight Astrology, is Horary and Roots and Spheres. I was in the YouTube chat earlier plugging Roots and Spheres as well. I just think it's so much fun, and I encourage anybody to join Roots and Spheres. You can be a complete beginner and not know anything about astrology and still get a lot out of it. We have people who are really into herbalism and less so astrology that join us. We have people that are really into astrology and less so herbalism. So you're always learning about something. And now with saffron and the crystals, it's a whole other subject to learn about. And horary, I'm just plain obsessed with horary. I have been since I first started studying it, and it's just so much fun. I encourage anyone to take it. You do want to have a good foundation in natal astrology before you come to horary, but once you do, please join us. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love Nightlight. I love being part of this community. I second everything Saffron said about it not being just a school, but it being really a community where we learn together and support one another. And I just feel so blessed to have it as part of my life.
Yeah. Erin is an amazing astrologer. You can book a reading with Erin as well through the reading service. I couldn't recommend her more highly for someone who's been doing astrology for a long time and has refined her approach. It has the remarkable ability to do horary astrology well, which as you go, if you come and study horary with us at NightLight, you will learn that it is easily the hardest branch of astrology. And that's just my opinion. I don't think many people disagree once they get into horary. It's like, wow, this is next level difficulty. But people who stick with it and just keep working the horary skill over years, slowly, in addition to natal astrology, become very sensitive, refined, predictive astrologers. And you couldn't get a better one than Erin. She is a fantastic. I show charts to Erin and Raimundo. I'm like, just yesterday, I sent them a chart and I was like, well, I messed this one up, got it wrong. I'm having a hhard time seeing how I got it wrong. What do you guys think? Erin immediately pointed out a piece of it that I didn't see. And I was like, yep. Or I saw, but significantly underrated the importance of, and that's a thing that happens in horary. Erin pointed out right away. I was like, okay. So like the thing that's great about being at NightLight is that when you're learning how to do this stuff, you're also in a student forum where people are sharing charts, and you have tutors who staff those forums and are there to help you look over those charts and learn from your mistakes, or learn from, celebrate your victories of getting something right or applying a concept and figuring it out. So anyway, thank you, Erin. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
So our student readers, I want to introduce you to them. Sushila is an absolutely fantastic astrologer. And you're from, I want to say, I'm going to get this wrong. It's Canada, right?
Yeah, Toronto.
Yes, Toronto. Okay, good. I was like, no, I think it's Canada. Okay, so Sushila, tell us a little bit about yourself, your experience at NightLight, what you like about reading charts through the service, anything that comes to mind.
Yeah, so I was mostly self-taught before, like self-studying before I came to NightLight. And yeah, I just felt like I needed to formalize my study. And like Meg said, kind of have a mentor and a direction to go in. And my experience in terms of being a student at NightLight, the thing that I really appreciate is that it feels like you get a really thorough and structured understanding of why things mean the things that they mean. And then within that structure, you can be creative, and you're encouraged to be creative. So it feels very supportive. And then I did want to say as well, just in terms of like the safe space and like the support you receive from Adam and the course directors and tutors, like especially Horary, like that came to my mind when you were talking about Horary, being able to ask questions and feel safe to do that and make mistakes and then, work through it together. I've really appreciated that in the courses. In terms of being a reader, yeah, I've read for some people, I think, that are in the comments right now, which is great. It's just been an amazing learning experience. I think I've been doing it now for 2 months since it launched, and already I've learned so much. So it was kind of the ability to learn through the courses, and then also through, like others have mentioned, the community of students that I've been with, and then onto this next level with reading with folks professionally through the clinic. And it's just been very satisfying and honestly an honor to be able to read for folks in the clinic. So yeah.
Yeah. Sushila and Mark, who I'm going to introduce next, one of the reasons that I called on them to be readers is not only because they were very promising, talented students who clearly had this kind of sensitivity, both on an intellectual level and a heart-based level, to do astrology for other people. And that means a lot to me, because I don't want to set up people coming to NightLight for anything but a really heartfelt, sensitive experience. So each person that's on our staff has been handpicked because we've seen them as just shining examples of that good combination of heart and mind. But Mark and Sushila just decided to get a community group going of like Afterglow sessions. Like, after class is done, if you want to stick around and discuss and unpack the stuff we just went over, we're going to have a get together. And they started hosting student meetup groups. And we have many programs that are like this, where students will take the initiative to develop a group of their own outside of class to discuss and work through the material. And Sushila and Mark were really leaders in their classroom in that respect. And so I invited them to come and be part of the reading staff, because they were taking leadership in the community. And that's fantastic. Mark, tell us about yourself and your experience at NightLight. Tell us also how you came up with this idea for the Afterglow groups or whatever. That was such a great idea.
Well, thanks. Yeah, so I think it goes back to one of the things that drew me to taking courses at NightLight, and that's that that you teach them live, and they're living in a way. So I knew that was an important part, because I wanted to be part of a community in learning astrology. It's like learning a language. You want to be around people that speak the language. So it's so important to get together and talk. And so I think we were only like 3 weeks into the course, and it was one of our first study sessions that really kind of opened that up. We were in the study session where we're engaging more. And it was just like, when it was over, it was like, this has to continue. We need like something that feels like students can go to a coffee shop after class, after school. And so that's kind of what it came out with. And so we started we called it Afterglow because it followed the live course, but it, everyone has different schedules. So it turned out to be something that a lot of people also wanted to do. And we started doing a weeknight version of the Afterglow. So it was this combination. And I highly recommend that to anyone that's in courses. Definitely, if you can make it to the study sessions, that's great. But anything that you can do to get students together and talking, doesn't matter whether you want to call it a study session or a group or whatever, just you're learning in this journey, and the pacing of the course is brilliant. The amount of time we spend on each unit is great, because we're soaking all that in, but it needs to come out in discussion with fellow students. And so that's so important, and to have found that community, and with NightLight making that possible, it's been an incredible experience. And the friendships that we've all made, especially Sushila and I have built a friendship, and we have friendships from people all over the world. So it's been incredible, and that's important, that sense of community.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, and this is why we have a student forum where you can ask questions, and there's tutors there interacting. We've got our breakout study sessions where you can come and have some community. And then seriously, in I think every class for at least a couple of years now, there are typically student groups that are self-organizing and meeting just to do a little bit more. And I think that's a testament to our staff and to the NightLight ethos in general, which is really about building connections and making what you're doing a spiritual, heartfelt experience, not just a download of techniques. I want to say one thing about Mark, which is that I hope you don't mind me saying this, Mark, but Mark is someone who he's got a job, and he's someone that many people are going to be finding themselves in a similar place, where Mark is driving a truck, and Mark is also studying astrology, listening while he's driving sometimes long distances, listening to his astrology lectures, building his practice, caring for his family. And for many people, astrology is something that you may think, well, I already chose a life path. I have a job, but da da da. It's never too late to learn astrology. It's a language that will only give back to you exponentially. And it has a way of seeping into your life, even if you're working and busy. So Mark is also a great testimony to someone who has found a way to learn astrology while also being a pretty busy dude.
Can I say one thing about that,
Yeah,
Adam?
please. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, truck driving takes a lot of time. So my evenings are somewhat short, and but also you have time to re-listen to lectures and things like that. One of the unique ways that I prepare for readings through the reading clinic is that I spend time contemplating the chart and I kind of memorize it in my head. And then when I'm out driving, just quietly meditate on that chart. And so having that time to be able to do that, that's one way I kind of incorporate the Astro Trucker way of doing astrology.
Love that. Guys, book a reading with Mark on the affordable reading services under the student readers. You're not going to get a more sensitive, thoughtful guy. He is a wizard who drives a truck. And you will not, like, seriously, like, you're going to get an excellent reading from him. So check that out. Thank you, Mark, for just pitching in there. Casey is another one of our readers on staff, a really amazing student. And one of the reasons that when we were gathering people, it was obviously like, who's been through our programs, who's been, showing up. But one of the things that stood out to me about Casey in our programs was that his questions were always very sincere, deep, and thoughtful. Like, anytime Casey's on the mic, I'm like, this is going to be a good question. Not only is it going to be a good question, but it's going to reflect someone who's sat with and digested the material and then asks a question that reflects having really sat with what we're doing. And obviously sometimes also just asking questions on the spur of the moment, like in class, like, I don't understand something, help me with this or help me with that. But you can feel someone's sincerity in the quality of the questions they ask. And Casey was that guy in our programs for several years. Just really glad that you're on staff reading for people, Casey. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you like about NightLight, and and what you've been liking about doing the reading so far.
So for being a part of NightLight Astrology, I started out as just a seeker going through some emotional turmoil. I didn't know who I was or where I wanted to be. And I found astrology. I started studying astrology and it didn't make sense to me. And then I found Adam. I listened to one video. I was like, okay, I like this guy. So I kept listening, and it was near one of the Kickstarters, and I saw the advantage for the need-based tuition, and I took advantage of it. And just going into the classes, everything started to make sense. It was like I'd been there before. I felt drawn in, and it transformed my life. And now I have the ability to experience astrology in my day-to-day waking life, like talking to people, just noticing the relationships in my life, and just being able to read for the people that come to NightLight. Is something that I would do for free. It's a beautiful experience, and this is something that I plan to do forever.
Thank you, Casey. Yeah, your sincerity, your thoughtfulness, the kinds of feedback that we've been getting, from people who have done readings with Casey already, has just been absolutely outstanding. So we're just really glad to have you. And again, you want a really good reading, check out Casey on the affordable reading service. You'll find him under the student readers and book a reading with him. You will get someone who cares. That's not, it's, I know it sounds like, oh, of course everyone should care, but it's like, when you, I compare it to this, like, when you have an animal in your house and you really, really care about that animal, you're always thinking about it. Or your kids, you're always thinking about it. Like, what, are they okay? Are they going to be doing well? And there's an intangible quality in some people where they just care about what they're doing and who they're doing it for and with. And Casey's one of those people. So you'd be lucky to have a reading with him. let me introduce Ryan and then Emily, our other two readers on staff. Ryan has been with us for a long time through all of our programs, Masterclass series, has been a leader in and outside of our classes in terms of just bringing a veteran amount of experience and spirituality in his own spiritual path, and someone who also just really deeply cares about astrology, and someone who's also going to be in the future teaching for us. I'm sure, I have no doubt that Ryan is going to be doing something for our speaker series program. And so a lot of our people who come through, you know, the goal of NightLight is to also build the success of an entire new generation of astrologers. If I have success, what good is that success if I don't use it to help build this beautiful craft and its future, right? That's what we're charged with as astrologers who have any amount of success. It's to build the good reputation of astrology in the world, and to keep it, and to pass it on, and to help other people be successful who have talent and heart and ability. So we're trying to do that at NightLight, and that's why I'm introducing you to all of these people, and so you can see what you're supporting when you support us. Ryan is one of those people who, again, I'll tell you more about getting a reading with him in a second, but he's been through all of our programs. Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself and, you know, what you've been liking about the readings and maybe your experience at NightLight.
Yeah, well, first I'll say that with my experience with NightLight, I joined year one, and I like so many, I really had no idea what to expect, and I was only able to do it because of the financial assistance, and it's been fantastic. I can't even explain what the value of live teaching and a live class is. I'm one of these people that for a lot of my life, I learned from the library and learned from the bookstore. And yeah, just coming into a live class, Adam's classes are on point. There's so much information. There's so much extra material. It's rich, and there's just a deep cross section of philosophy from so many different traditions as well. So I really highly recommend joining the year one program if you haven't done that already. And yeah, also just want to plug the masterclasses because I think they're fantastic. I'm on to my third round of masterclasses next year. And yeah, the masterclasses are really amazing courses that just really dive deep into individual topics. And so it's been fantastic being part of that as well. So I enjoy the community. Every one of these folks on the screen is fantastic. I just love all you guys, and it's wonderful. Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, we appreciate you so much. Someone's asking, is Ryan an instructor? So Ryan has a background in teaching astrology in other groups. And so, and a lot of our people here have done things or do things in other communities and meetup groups and things like that. So yeah, they're all like, just about anyone on our staff. If I felt like in a pinch, like, oh, I'm sick, I need someone to fill in and teach. Our course directors could teach any of my classes because they know them inside and out. And so, yeah, like everyone at NightLight on the staff has a really nice ability to teach, as well as, you know, tutor and answer questions and read charts and things like that. So, all right. Well, thank you, Ryan. You could book a reading with Ryan on the website. Again, under the affordable reading service, go down to the student readers. Ryan is someone who, again, has really a long time of being a dedicated spiritual practitioner with grounded spiritual practices. And so you're getting someone who's just got a really sensitive eye for the chart that comes from a very, I mean, he's going to hold a really nice grounded container for you. So I couldn't recommend Ryan more highly for that reason. Emily, last but certainly not least, it is a joy. Like, one of the reasons that again, when we were thinking of different people to have come read with us for our initial setup, the reason that I thought about Emily is that she is someone whose heart just shines right through her face. And you will find that as a reader, that she is just sensitive and thoughtful, and also someone who was very present in all of our programs. And when I can tell someone is like, they're present, they're engaged, they care, and you can see the heart being moved in the person as the year goes on. That was really my experience of Emily. And also someone who just had a way of taking a lot of leadership in the class, even just in the way she modeled being a good student. So yeah, it's just a real privilege to have Emily as a part of our reading staff too. And I'll tell you more about why you should book a reading with her in a second. But Emily, tell us about your experience at NightLight so far, and what reading's been like too.
Well, thank you. I have to start by saying this. 2 years ago, I think it was like 2.5 years ago, you were doing a series on the channel where you were interviewing students, and I think it was called Becoming a Professional Astrologer. And I watched one of those episodes. I think Dana was on one of those episodes, actually. I watched one of those episodes, and after it was over, I sent a text message to my 2 kind of best astro friends. And I said, I'm just putting this out there in the universe, but someday I want to be on Adam's channel talking about becoming a professional. And so here I am. And I just have to say that this is an actual dream realized for me. So I just want to thank you so much for that opportunity. And, I say that first to say thank you, but more importantly, to just kind of emphasize the spirit of generosity that is at the heart of my experience with NightLight. And I think with so many other people, that it's like, with all the things that other people have been saying about, you teach classes live, which is rare and special, the need-based tuition, that no one's priced out of the consultation space if they need it, and that now here you are using your influence and platform to support others coming up, like myself in the field. So being a part of NightLight and the community, which is fostered through that generosity that everybody else has mentioned as well, and being like in the company of these talented colleagues, it's just, I'm so grateful. And taking that generosity into readings now and kind of carrying that forward has been like coming home for me. I love it so much. I feel so honored to be able to connect with people in this way. I hope to, like Casey said, continue to do it forever. It just feels like, yeah, I just feel so called to it. I love it so much. So if anyone is on the fence about stepping into this community, just do it. You will not regret it. Whatever you give will be returned tenfold for sure in this space. Yeah.
Thank you, Emily. Yeah. And as you can see, as if you guys were watching Emily's face while she talked, her heart and her love for astrology just starts coming through her eyes, her face. And I notice things like that. I notice when people start talking about astrology and they light up within. And that's the kind of people we want around NightLight. We want people who, when they think about astrology, they think about something that they feel like was created just for them. There's this feeling of like, I am made for this. Even if it's just your hobby or your passion or something you're using for yourself, or whether you practice for others or not, if you love this and you want to be around people who feel the same way, then you'll really enjoy the NightLight experience. The other thing that I'll say about Emily is that you can book a reading with her through the affordable reading services. Again, some of the best feedback we've gotten through our reading service, also from people who have had readings with Emily. Just absolutely, you will get someone who is going to care about you. And one thing that I'll say is that everyone as an astrologer has different tools and gifts and a different way in which they show up as an astrologer. And we have a group discussion where we talk about things we run into, protecting anonymity, of course, but asking questions, what we're seeing, what we're going through. Consistently, Emily shows up in that forum with questions, thoughts, reflections on what she's dealing with that are reflective of someone who is not just concerned about building a career, but who's concerned about doing things that are meaningful and helpful for other people. And that's the ethos around here in general. All right, now that we've pumped our tires enough for a good 30 minutes, I'm glad to have introduced you to everybody. There are others you have not met who couldn't be here. Erica wasn't feeling well. She's an amazing tutor. Anita, who am I missing, guys? I'm trying to think who.
Marjorie.
Marjorie, yes, Marjorie's on vacation right now. So there are other people at staff. You will meet them as well. And any of the readers on our site, I stand behind as people that will really give you a heart-centered experience. Now that we've done this, I really wanted to do this because I wanted you guys to get to know our community. I saw a few questions I'm going to address briefly, and then we're going to open up into Q&A, and then eventually we'll get to birth charts as well. Let me start by asking this. Someone earlier, let me start by saying this. Someone earlier said, I have previous experience. Can I hop past year one? The answer to that question is no, but let me explain why. And the basic answer is that the curriculum, there's a couple answers. First of all, the curriculum at NightLight is rooted in a living lineage apprenticeship model of astrological education, which means that we want you to entrain yourself to our vibe, to the way we teach the curriculum. Because while you may have, if you have previous experience in Hellenistic astrology, that's fantastic. It'll do nothing but help you in our classes. I promise you that. But we want you to learn the NightLight approach. Just it's a lineage, it's an apprenticeship based model. So we want you to entrain yourself to the way we think about and interact with the philosophies, techniques, methods. We want you to get the approach that we have in our year one program to utilizing technique, theory, and craft with actual people. That's why a bunch of our curriculum in year one is rooted in having live people come into the classroom and seeing an hour-long reading, utilizing the techniques and theories. So a lot of people, when they learn Hellenistic, they're going to learn history, they're going to learn techniques, but you're not going to be taught how to think about them. You're not going to be taught how to use them artfully. You're not going to be taught about how to use them within the context of counseling, right? So we are rooted in an actual live counseling dynamic. And so the way we teach Hellenistic astrology is very specific. It doesn't mean that it's going to be incompatible with anything else that you've already learned about Hellenistic, but we want you to go through our programs, ideally all of them. Horary is a little optional, but the first year, second year, and third year programs in natal astrology, they build on one another as well. So if you're in year two, just because you've had some prior Hellenistic, you're not going to actually do well in year two without knowing exactly the way in which we talk about and think about concepts from year one and then build on them in year two. So just think about it like what we want you to think about is, yes, you're getting an education in Hellenistic astrology, but more than that, you're entering into an apprenticeship with a specific practitioner and a specific community and a specific way of thinking about and doing things, which you also will develop your own creative approach from and through. Like any apprenticeship should empower you to become your own astrologer, but it's also, this is not universal curriculum, right? Throughout the history of astrology, every single astrologer has typically been an apprenticeship model teacher, which means you study and learn the ways of that practitioner. So, you could have watched every single episode of the Astrology podcast and you are not going to get the same thing from us. It's very different. It's very specific. The other thing that's really important when it comes to studying astrology is that the approach that we take at NightLight is also very unique. A lot of the very specific ways in which I teach are rooted in ancient philosophy and also rooted in specific ways that one of my main teachers, Robert Schmidt, looked at the material. And that is, you're going to find some significant differences in the way that some of the content is presented in our courses and other Hellenistic programs out there, which is not to say one is better than the other. It's just to say there are also substantive differences within the actual technical approaches that we take. So, so for those reasons, we don't let people skip. At the same time, I say this sort of jokingly to people. I'm like, look, if you get through the year one program and you were like, oh, I knew all of that, I'd heard it all presented exactly that way before, and I don't see the value in having done this first year course, I'll give you the second year for free, because I am that confident, because it's literally never happened before that when I tell someone, you got to start with year one and they get done with it, and they're like, oh, I knew all of that already. No, it's never happened, literally. So anyway, on that note, let's open for some Q&A. What are your questions? And if any of you, by the way, need to get going, feel free, if you want to stick around, hang out for some Q&A. Maybe we'll see if we can field some questions from people. What computer program do we end up using? Well, I use SolarFire, but anyone else use a different program?
I use Astrogold, so the kind of the Mac. It's a Mac option for people that would want to use SolarFire.
Yeah.
I use Astrogold. I used to use Luna, and I like both of them a lot. Luna is more affordable, I think, for folks.
Yeah. In the program, I'm always using SolarFire on the screen, but there's not like a set program. We give you a list of programs. We also have some affiliate deals with Astrogold and with Astrotherios, which is a very affordable program that a NightLight alumni created, and you can get access to if you're like on low income and you're on tuition assistance. We have a super affordable connection there for people too. So yeah. Here's another good question. I'm going to open this up for the staff to answer. What's more important to look at, current transits or personal transits to your natal chart? There's not just one answer to this, so I'll let you guys discuss. Don't like everybody speak at once.
For who? If we're looking at the transiting planets in the sky, then we're talking about mundane astrology. And if we're talking about looking at how those planets might be aspecting or interacting with the position of our natal planets, or where the planets were when we were born, then we're talking about natal astrology. So I would say you're talking about two different branches of astrology there.
Yeah. And when, I guess my understanding of what her question is probably like, if you were going to look at transits to figure out what's going to have more of an impact on you personally, would you look at Venus square Uranus today, or would it be more important to see if Uranus was squaring your natal Venus? I kind of think that's what she's asking.
Okay, then I'd say the latter.
Yeah, I would too.
It always has to be anchored back to your natal chart. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's, looking at the current transits and thinking about them is one thing. It's important to pay attention to that and notice it, but then look to see if that then is activating something in your natal chart, because then you're going to build upon say Venus squaring Uranus, but what does that touch for you personally? And so I think that's how I would think about that.
Yeah.
Adam, I'll also add to that after taking Horary, one of the ways that I look at the current transits is like a Horary chart, because it's a very divinatory approach to looking at things. And I'll look at the chart and just kind of whatever questions I have, very like a tarot, I'll look at it to extract meaning from that, independent of what we might think of as a mundane transit situation.
Yeah, great point. I'm going to keep moving along. Can you tell us more about how you incorporate philosophy? In the programs, we incorporate philosophy into the programs in terms of the why behind everything. A lot of the times when you study astrology, you learn techniques, and the techniques may be completely valid. But one of the things that we rarely stop to do is go, okay, but why? Like, what the hell is a house? Why did houses become associated with topics? What's the difference between a house and a sign? How did the planets come to rule the specific signs that they rule? What's the difference in the category of exaltation versus domicile rulership? Why were there ever these two categories to begin with? When we talk about philosophy in our program, is really about understanding the underlying rationale behind every single aspect of the craft that exists as much as we can. And with that understanding, you will have something, you have the rationale behind which the generation of all topical lists come from. You want to understand why everything is associated with Venus, or why everything is associated with the 7th house. Now you understand, which gives you the sort of creative ability to generate your own lists and to see things more intuitively. So philosophy at NightLight is about understanding the why behind everything, which is also why our program is very different from many other Hellenistic courses that just will give you techniques. And there's nothing wrong with reporting on techniques accurately, historically, but we want to understand why the technique ever came to be and how its use is justified. Like, where did this come from? So we spend a lot of time with that at NightLight. Let's see. Here is another. Let's see. Do you think retrograde transits of slow outer planets are important? I'll put that to all of you. What do you guys think?
I would say absolutely. All of the retrogrades play a big part in our experiences. Is just something that we have to follow. Just taking the opportunity to see what's going on when the planet's stationed direct in your own personal life is a great way to determine what it was doing while it was retrograde. Like paying attention to Mars right now in your current chart, as well as where it's transiting retrograde in Leo right now. Like what's going on in your life, and what actions are being stopped or put at a standstill in your own personal experience, and what are you having to rethink around these areas of your life?
Yeah. I especially like what you just said, Casey, about tracking the stations direct and retrograde is a really good way to get some deeper insight into the retrogrades of slower moving planets, because they're retrograde for so long, and it's easier for us to like notice acute events. It's harder for us to track slower, deeper processes. And so understanding those retrogrades can happen through the kinds of manifestations that occur around the station points. And I think that's probably key when understanding slower outer planetary retrogrades. Okay. What's the best rising sign to be next year? This is subjective. Well, I want to preface this by saying there is no best rising sign to be the next year, because it's an individual. It's so individual, right? It based so much on your birth chart. But let's sound off on this for fun. Whole sign horoscopes here, putting all the signs on the ascendant. What do you think? Who's going to have the most benefic year?
I'd quite like to be a Cancer rising.
Cancer.
I was just
hold on,
saying Cancer.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So everyone sounded off at once. Saffron, what did you say?
I said I'd quite like to be a Cancer rising just once.
And now tell me why. What's in it for Cancers?
Well, Jupiter enters Cancer next year. I've got Cancer in the 8th house, so to have a nice, like, benefic Jupiter going through the first house would actually be really lovely, and also Saturn supporting. So you've got that connection from Saturn for a little while anyway. You know, obviously there's that whole other stuff going on too. Well, let's not get too deep into all the outer transits. You know, there's some stuff going on. But yeah, I quite like the idea of having Jupiter in the first. So yeah.
Okay, now everyone sounded off everyone had something to say. So I didn't mean to cut everyone off. So who else wants to chime in on this one?
I just said Cancer for the same reason, Jupiter in the first.
Jupiter
and to get it out of the 12th, because sometimes Jupiter in the 12th can feel a little, I mean, it can be good for spiritual pursuits, but it can feel a little existential, I feel like.
Yeah, true.
I want to disagree just because I'm good at that with
Yes.
with Mars and Libra in the first, and I'm going to say, well, first of all, Cancer has some pretty heavy 12th and 8th house stuff going on and coming up that I'm not envious of. So I'm going to give it to us Libras and say that Jupiter in the 10th is going to be where it's at for us.
That's right. Yeah, and Cancers have the Mars retrograde. Mars went direct through Cancer earlier a couple months ago. My wife, who's a Cancer rising, got double pneumonia. It was really terrible. I mean, she was just sick for a good portion of that Mars transit. The retrograde, at the very least, the retrograde finishes, we get done with it, whatever it is, in April. I mean, the retrograde portion ends in late February, but then it gets out of your first house in April, and then we have Jupiter coming in. So maybe there'll be some healing later in the year, but it is a little heavy. So I could see how you're pushing back in that way. I feel like for me, when I think about, I just can't help but wonder what Leos are going through this year, with Pluto entering the 7th and a couple of these Mars-Pluto oppositions forming the first half of the year. and Pluto in the 7th, the big shifts around relationships come to my mind. See, I don't think in terms of who's got the best year, because, you know, I found that some of my best years are the ones measured by how much powerful change or transformation occurs, not all of which is easy, but may have actually been some of the most positive years of my life. So I think about it that way too. But Raimundo, what do you think?
I am going to put Aquarius, for example, just because we have Pluto solidly spending its time starting from the tail end of this year, around October. And I am a Capricorn rising, and I just finished off Pluto going through my first house. And I gotta say, I love who I am right now, although the path was not easy, but, you know, if you have this, you know, the power to go through it, you're going to come out on the other end so much lighter.
Yeah. Love that. I think that, you know, for Geminis, you've got Uranus entering your first house this year. If you're Gemini rising, that ought to be interesting. I mean, if I look back at the last 7 years of Uranus in my first house, it's funny because you're like, oh, it'll be really unexpected the way you'll evolve as an individual being. You know, started off, I changed my name, became a monk, and now have completely transformed my body and physique through bodybuilding. Like, none of those things I could have seen coming from, you know, any amount of understanding about Uranus, even that it's such an unpredictable planet that it'll bring all these radical changes to your sense of self and identity. So buckle up, you know, Geminis, because I have really enjoyed this transit. It's been very liberating, very exciting to explore and experiment with my, you know, my sense of identity while it's been in Taurus.
I can attest to that also as a Taurus rising. I mean, I really, when Uranus came into Taurus near my ascendant, when I really started buckling down with astrology, and it's completely changed my life. I was also thinking about Leo risings as well, with Saturn and Neptune in the moving into the 9th house. If spiritual pursuits are on the mind of any Leo risings, this could certainly be a time to develop some kind of a grounded spiritual practice that astrology would even fit as well. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, think about Aries too. I mean, if you're an Aries rising or any cardinal sign rising, you're going to get Saturn and Neptune entering one of the angular houses, and then you'll have a Venus retrograde, a Mercury retrograde, a solar eclipse, all in Aries as well. So like wherever your Aries house is this year, that's getting lit up in March. Like March through May especially is like just this downpour of Aries energy. So that's interesting, especially since Aries likes to start things. I mean, that's a Marsy kind of thing, but it's very inceptional, that sign. So yeah, I've got a feeling that for everybody, but, you know, especially if you've got Aries rising, Cancer rising, Libra rising, Cap rising, those signs, you'll get you know, the Aries planets hitting one of your angles.
Don't forget the Pisces and Virgo. I can't believe anyone hasn't mentioned Pisces or Virgo. You've got the eclipses starting, you know. So that will be fun.
Yeah, so there's 2 Virgo eclipses, one in March, one in September. And then there's a Pisces eclipse in September as well. So 3 eclipses across the Pisces Virgo axis. If you're a mutable sign with Uranus also entering Gemini, you're going to have action across your angles. And I mean, what to speak of the fact that everybody, all the fixed signs have Pluto entering an angle this year. It has just entered. So I don't know, I can't think of a year too where we're seeing all of the slow moving planets from Jupiter out to Pluto changing signs. Jupiter enters Cancer, Saturn enters Aries, Uranus enters Gemini, Neptune enters Aries, Pluto has just entered Aquarius. It feels like we're in the midst of an era or chapter change in the middle of the decade on a sort of collective level. Does anything stand out to you guys about the astrology of the year ahead in general that you want to speak to?
Just that, what you just said. It feels like 2025 and 2026 are like a threshold that we're in the process of taking a step over. Yeah, it just feels consequential.
Yeah, Yeah, consequential is a good word. Yeah.
I was just going to say as well, like the connection between the Venus retrograde into Aries and then having Saturn and Neptune. So the readings I've done so far, like that's been something we've been looking at, the connection between that retrograde.
Yeah, Virgo rising. Someone's mentioning Virgo rising. This should be interesting. Yeah, I mean, when you get a solar eclipse in your first house, a lunar eclipse in your first house, I see those as markers of pretty significant personal change. And the first house is so funny how when we say it's personal in the first house, like, well, isn't everything personal? Yeah, but it's more like it's a crossroads with respect to how you see yourself and who you are and kind of your core sense of identity in the world. You think of the first house being called Dharma. This is something we're going to look at the Masterclasses. It's like, well, what is Dharma? It's the feeling of, like, I think the simplest explanation that I've been coming up with lately to explain Dharma is my dog, whose instinctual job is to guard. She's a guardian breed. So those dogs, guardian breeds, might have been used to guard livestock, or like a castle or something, or people's property, or whatever. Or they might have been used in war, or to protect something. So, or she has a very basic instinct to just do that because it's in her. When you're in an eclipse window in your first house, it's as though you may have a new job, or your job may shift. Your shift of duty may be up, and it may be time to apply your Dharma, your gifts, your duty, your service to something else or something different, which can also mean shifting relationships across the seventh house. So those first house eclipses are a pretty big deal. So for Virgos this year, I think it's definitely going to be a big year. Any of you guys Virgo risings? Sushila, yeah, okay, there you go.
And Pisces.
Okay, yeah. So like, and I feel like, especially like in a year where you may also be developing and really taking off with your client practice, right? That's a year in which my Dharma to read charts for people is like appearing. It's taking shape. It's taking form. First house years are often like perfection years, or big transits to the first, eclipses in the first will often coincide with, like, I have a new job. I have a new reason for being here. I have a new something that I now need to tend to. It's like someone gives you a candle, a little angel, and says, just keep this lit. Okay, now I have this thing. I have to keep it lit. So anyway, okay, let's shift into maybe one more question, then we'll say goodbye to our staff, and I will keep on going. Daphne, by the way, says, I paid for a reading, never received an email to confirm, thus paid but did not receive. Email us today, info@nightlightastrology.com. Occasionally things go into the spam folder, so it's very possible that we missed you, but we answer everything we get within a day usually. It's possible we responded, it may have gone into your spam folder, but either way, just email us today and we'll get you straightened out, okay? And if we need to give you a refund or whatever, we can do that too. So yeah, I feel bad because sometimes people email us and they're like, we didn't hear back about tuition assistance or whatever. It's like, no, we answer everything unless somehow it went into a promotions folder, and we check those too. But sometimes some things fall through the cracks. So just pester us, but reach out again, email us again if you don't hear from us.
And I'd also say check your own spam folder, because sometimes the emails from NightLight will get filtered into your spam. So make sure that if you're waiting on something from us, that you check your own spam as well.
Yeah. If students want to include the Horary course into their studies, at what stage do they usually take that course? Raimundo and Aaron, do you guys want to speak to that?
Well, usually students, after taking the first year of the NightLight course, is already equipped to go into the Horary course, I believe. As long as you know well the planetary cycles, for example. If you track transits daily, then you should be fine.
Yeah. Aaron, do you want to say anything about when it's the best time to study Horary?
Same. I would say if you only have the capacity to take one class at a time and you're planning on taking year 2, I personally would put it after year 2 in my order, just because as Raminda said, like synodic cycles and tracking the cycles of planets, knowing how fast they move at a glance is all very useful in Horary. So if you have more practice with that, it's just going to benefit you.
Yeah. 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 I would say that when you are in the year one program, you can, once you're 6 months into the year one program and we're wrapping up theory, then you have options available to you about how you move through the rest of our programs. Year two is the next in order, but some people will take year 2 and 3 simultaneously, or may start year 3 and then start year 2. We only recommend that for people who have some prior background in Hellenistic astrology and or a serious amount of background in transit tracking, like, more intermediate to advanced level transit tracking. If you already have that, after you're through the theoretical portion of year 1, you can really start year 2, 3 in Horary at whatever levels you want. So those are all, but the recommended course would be year 1, year 2, year 3, Horary. And then usually people end up pairing a couple of them together after they're through the first year program, because the other programs are not as intensive in terms of the study, and the load of new ideas that you're taking in year 1 is sort of the densest in that case. But yeah. So I see someone else mentioned that they emailed us. Like we said, like we check everything. Like Saffron and myself are checking the emails daily, all throughout the day. So if there's something we miss, it's probably because, it got into spam somehow or something like that. And we also check our spam every day. So, just email us again if you ever have that issue. You can always email info@nightlightastrology.com.
Can I give the other email just in case they want to use that one? So we also have a support at nightlightastrology.com. So if you're not getting an answer through which, as Adam says, Adam and I answer every email, every day. So yeah, they're definitely coming, if they're getting lost, it's either one way or the other in spam. But yeah, support at is also the other email address that you can use. And Meg will answer you there.
I love that Leah says, Nightlight's been so helpful. Even when I email them my embarrassing questions of things I just can't grasp yet. That's what we're here for. We take the time to make sure people don't feel lost in the programs. We tell people, look, the only way you're going to feel lost is if you don't reach out to us and tell us you're lost, and tell us that you're overwhelmed, tell us you don't get something. We encourage people to, be in contact with us. We don't want people walking through the program feeling like they're not getting something. So that's good. Oh, all right. One last question. Which sign for love in 2025? Sagittarius comes to my mind with Uranus entering the 7th house. It's like that could be sparky and interesting, or Leo with Pluto entering the 7th, or maybe Capricorn with Jupiter in Cancer entering the 7th. Anything else come to mind?
The Pisces Virgo, because of the eclipses.
Eclipses across the 1st and 7th for Pisces Virgo. Yeah.
If you want to go, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
If you want to go quality over quantity, I would say Capricorn rising. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I feel like there's really a case to be made with, so many planets changing signs this year, big ingresses into the 7th for a number of signs, plus eclipses. So Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sag. So all the mutable signs have big stuff happening in the 7th this year. The cardinal signs, if you're a Libra rising, you've got a whole bunch of stuff going off in Aries in your 7th in March, April, May, with the Venus retrograde there. If you're we said Cap, the other one would be with the fixed signs, Leo with Pluto. What am I missing? Pisces, let's see, Aquarius, Cap, we already said. Sag with Uranus, Scorpio. I feel like Scorpio Taurus isn't getting as much this year, with kind of Uranus is like finishing up in Taurus. It feels like you had eclipses there somewhat recently across the 1st and the 7th. I feel like maybe Scorpio Taurus is a little quieter this year, but that's just, you'll have a period of time in which Venus will transit through Taurus in the springtime. So that could be something for Scorpios to think about too.
I think it'll be nice for Scorpio risings to get Uranus out of the seventh house. I think that could be nice. He's been doing some good work in there the last 7 years or so, but it'll be nice to get just have something different going on.
Yeah, totally. Very good. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for being here. I'm going to keep going, and I'm just so glad that we could introduce all of you today. Again, for everybody watching this, this is a big part of what you support. You support a team-based, community-oriented, financially accessible school. And that's made possible through the Kickstarter. People say, I'm going to use that Kickstarter to come and study through our programs. And the outlet is free content every day on this channel year-round and accessible astrological education. That happens because of your generosity. And I also couldn't recommend more highly, go check out these readers on the Affordable Reading Service. If you're looking for some help with your birth chart, you're in good hands with these people. So yeah, so thank you all for being here. I'm going to keep going, and I'll take you guys out of the studio. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next couple of weeks as classes get going again. Bye, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Fantastic. So I'm going to, this is a little bit of an extended live today. I'm going to continue on with Q&A for a little bit after I plug the Kickstarter, and then I'm going to do some live readings for you guys as we continue here. So as of the time that I am live right now, we have 1,017 backers. 1,017. Let's do a little quick math here. 1,937 minus 1,017. We get 920 more backers that we need by New Year's Eve. 920 backers by New Year's Eve that's a lot. We still need a lot of help. If you are able to pitch in $5, $10, it really does help. Here's the link to donate. You go over to the website, nightlightastrology.com, click on the 2025 Kickstarter, and you will be taken over there. And here's the link in the live chat. You'll find it in the comment section if you're listening to the recording of this after the live is finished. I will probably be coming on maybe 1 or 2 more times between now and New Year's Eve just to come on and bang the drum and see if we can't cross the finish line. If we get to that number, I know that we're going to be sustaining what we've built and the budget that we have to support our staff and to allow for, no bottom lines in our programs. That's a big part of our business model. It's like a business. We're trying to do well, trying to be successful as a business. But how do we do that while also making sure that our content is super accessible on the level of pricing? That's a value, right? So this is the model. The model is let's generate donations from the audience for the free content through the YouTube channel, use that platform to build a really special school. So anyway, thank you for everybody, 1,017 people. We've had 12,000 more subscribers in the past year since our last Kickstarter. It's my hope that with 12,000 more subscribers, we could do just one better than last year. Heck, I think we could do a lot better than that. But right now we are like over 100 backers behind last year's pace. And we need to catch up really to make sure that we cross the finish line. So thank you again to everybody. If you haven't backed us yet, pitch in $5. If you get something good from this channel, then consider supporting us. Consider being a part of what makes this a special channel. This is my Dharma. My Dharma is to get up every day for, going on 13 years of doing this and 11 Kickstarters. I get up every day. Doesn't matter if I'm sick or if I'm not sick. I have to get up and create content. Very rarely have I taken breaks from that. This is my Dharma. This is my service. I get up, I do my practice, take care of my body the best I can, take care of my family, and try to create meaningful spiritual content, meaningful astrological content for people. So it's a real joy and a privilege. And one thing that I promise to people who support this channel is that I will do the best I can to keep growing as a human being and to keep growing as a content creator and to keep looking inward and drawing out soulful, substantive things for all of you. That's my commitment. And so if this is a place that you rely on, then thank you for pitching in. Okay, now on that note, I will take some more questions, and then after the Q&A portion is over, I will I'll go on to take some birth chart readings. Okay. Do you check your own transits a long time in advance and get curious about what could happen? No. So I know, like, just because, you know, when you know where the astrology is all the time, and I know where most of the astrology is for the next year at least, it's hard to not know where things are. But I've had to develop an off switch for my myself, right? Switch over here. All right, there we go. I've had to develop something like an off switch because to me, astrology is not something that I use primarily as a way of I want to stay open to whatever the divine has in store for me. And I want to be surprised by it. So I'll look at transits to get a feel for the arc. It's like having a lantern. This is why I actually named NightLight NightLight. It's like having a little lantern to help you see through the dark. And that dark is not an enemy. That dark is the mystery of our life that's been promised to us. And we just want enough illumination to walk our way through it. So I'm very careful to use astrology at times when I legitimately have questions because I'm moving through the dark and need a little light. But otherwise, I try to carry astrology like a lantern that allows me to see just enough to stay attuned to what I'm in right now. And that's a fine line for me when it comes to how far out I look and how much time and energy and focus I give to transits. I find that serving other people in their critical moments with critical questions and crossroads when they feel like they're in the dark and bringing that light into that space has this effect of fundamentally helping me trust where I'm at. And ironically, allows me to rely less on charts. I feel like that's part of the gift of serving people with astrology, is that it allows me to trust experience itself at a deeper level, such that I don't use astrology a ton for myself. It's not that I never use it. I would say I look at charts and transits all the time, so I'm very aware of them, but it's not something that I'm like anxiously checking, like a refresh on your phone or something, you know. Hope that makes sense. Okay. I enjoy when you laugh out loud. You know, it's funny. It's like, I can't help myself. I think I'm funny. It's not even that I think I'm funny. That's not even really true. It's just that I've always had the ability to make myself laugh. Like, I could be in private in a room thinking about funny shit and just find myself cracking up because of stuff that's flashing through it's like there's a stand-up comedian in my head, and it's not me. It's just, it's part of it's like an inner committee member. And there's a lot of stuff that they do in my head that makes me laugh, if that makes sense. And so I can't help it. It just kind of comes, it just comes out. What has helped you to stay consistent with content creation? I found it hard to keep the faith and make content when my following was so small and felt like it wasn't growing. You know what? It's super cheesy, but it's that if you build it, they will come mentality. This is my post. It's the conviction inside. This is what I was born to do. I was born to consistently and faithfully make astrological content. I'm like someone whose Dharma it is to read the weather on a news channel every day. They show up, they put their little suit on, they point at the green screen, you know. It's like, so if you know that this is what you're meant to do, you just do it, and then you just keep doing it. And in time, the fact that you are consistently showing up because it's what you're meant to do will bring people to you, because they'll go, shit, that's what this person is supposed to be doing, because they're doing it. So sometimes we think to ourselves, I'll do something and then I hope I get a result. And I think that it's not a bad way of thinking. Like, of course, we're logical beings. We're like, well, I hope I'll get a result if I do something. But it has to be more basic than that. It has to be more of a conviction that this is what I am meant to do. This is what my heart desires to do. And then if you care, if that's something you care about, and this is just my philosophy, right? You don't have to agree with me. It's just one philosophy. Just show up and do it. Don't make any excuses. That's the hard work of it, right? Is this just showing up and doing it? And there's so much learning and so many benefits from showing up with consistency. Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras talks about how the results of yoga come. And this is like high level yoga, not the kind that you or I practice, right? We're talking about people achieving samadhi, right? Exceedingly rare kinds of states. He says, in order to achieve, samadhi and to receive the results of yoga, you have to practice consistently over a long period of time with all devotion uninterruptedly. I don't know anything in life that's not true for bodybuilding. People are like, oh, you've transformed your body. I'm like, well, compared to some people, I haven't done much, but the remarkable results that I've achieved in the terms of physical transformation have not been through some kind of, it's just consistency. That's it. It's just doing the same thing over and over again. If you want to be an incredibly intuitive, artful musician, just play your instrument and don't stop playing it. If you want to be a great astrologer, just keep studying and practicing and don't stop doing it. If you want to be a great content creator, just make content and keep making it and don't stop. So most things, in my humble opinion, that we want to create require nothing more than devotion. And the core tenet of devotion is attentiveness and consistency. If you want to take care of plants and you don't want them to die, you pay attention to them consistently. You water them often when they need it, So if you want to, if you want to stay consistent with content creation, the simplest answer is the hardest one. It's just stay consistent then, and everything else will come. That's how it works. It's that simple. You stay consistent with things and things will open if they're meant to. If you don't stay consistent with things, you'll never know. But at least if you stay consistent with things and you make content in your same schedule, if it's once a week or every day or whatever it is, and you do it for a couple of years and you get zero results, well, at least you know that it wasn't because you weren't consistent. Because consistency is the thing that opens most doors when it comes to spiritual practices, artistic practices, or anything else. Now, again, that's just how I understand it. All right. Some of us don't know what we're meant to do. Yeah, totally. That's one of the things I feel like I love using astrology for the most is helping people in the process of discovering that or getting closer to that, or even just learning to live with the fact that, for some of us, it may be more difficult than others. And it's part of what we're here to do is to live with conflict with regard to our Dharma. Like many of us, this is why I'm teaching the Masterclass series on Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, because for many of us, we go to astrologers because we don't know what our Dharma is. We don't understand what our purpose is. And that's a karma. That's a destiny path to deal with that, to cope with that, to feel the pain or loss or confusion around purpose is a real karma that many people deal with. You can see it in birth charts. And then we can try to help people with it. All right, let's see. Adam, how do you feel about Pluto being in your 10th and the future of this community, hoping it grows more? Yeah, I don't know. We had a serious amount of staff turnover last year, some people that left and new people that came in, which was good and all happened amicably and I think as positively as it could have happened. It was a big transition year, and we got the affordable reading service launched for sure. So it's already been a big year. If it's what you're meant to do, should it come easily? If it's slow to success, is that a sign it's not meant to be? I don't think so. Think about it like this. There are so many stories about musicians, and because that's kind of my hobby, playing music. It's like, there's so many stories of musicians who really felt like they sucked for a long time. And honestly, if I look back at the first 5 years of my astrological practice, it was grueling. I struggled with confidence. I wasn't sure I was doing a good job. I often felt like I sucked at what I did. Then there'd be victories and you kind of keep yourself going. But I think like it's really, how do we work? Like failure is part of alchemy, you know? So how do we embrace failure as a part of a process? You have to love what you're doing more than you care about failure. You have to love, and this is just me as an astrologer, and I think about what's carried me this far. You have to love astrology more than you care about sucking at times. You have to forgive yourself for sucking and care less about the difficulty and care more about what you love about what you're doing. I think that's a remedy for success for musicians and artists too. You're going to have days where you don't feel like a very good artist, you don't feel like a very good musician, you don't feel like a very good parent. And, you know, the question is, do I let the disappointment, the frustration, the failure become more powerful than the love and devotion I feel in my heart for what I'm doing, which I know has a place. It accepts and it loves, and it has a place for failure. And that's not an easy thing to have that kind of approach, but people who stick with things are people who find that space for difficulty in my experience. There's even something I was watching the other day. It was like a podcast or something. Might have even been like the Huberman Lab. I think that's what it was. Who's this like research scientist guy. And some of the things I like that he does around like working out and like lifestyle and stuff like that. He had an episode on alcohol that really changed my life. Anyway, he was talking about how there's certain places in your brain when you go and do something that you don't want to do at all. Like today I have leg day. After I'm done with this, I got to go do leg day. I fucking hate leg day. Just screw leg day. I hate it. It's the hardest day of my week workout wise. And every day but apparently if you go and do hard things that you don't want to do, but you know you can do, and you know it's probably good to do, that grows your capacity in your brain in some place that's I don't remember the ins and outs of it physiologically, but I thought that was really fascinating because it's a lot like that when you're studying astrology, you're doing readings. You'll be like, oh God, I have to do a reading for someone. And I can tell this person's going to bring the heat. They're going through something really difficult. I'm going to have to hold space for this. Not sure what I'm going to say. I might be dealing with someone who thinks that I'm wiser, more sagely than I really am too. So no pressure, you know, and, you know, you go and you do it. And then after that experience, you might need a walk, you might need a shower, you might have a headache, but you go, thank you. That was good. That expanded my capacity to do this somehow, you know? All right. Anyway, you guys can tell I have a cap moon. My cap moon's like, if it's in it, it's not hard. It's not real. Oh gosh. Jennifer just signed up for the 2025 Masterclass series. Fantastic. That's what it's all about. Oh, all right. Let me, I got to refresh something on my screen here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, I like this. Stephen King got rejected a lot before he made his break. I use him as an inspiration all the time. Yeah, I read his biography in grad school. Absolutely loved it. Let me tell you this. When I was in graduate school, and I'm not kidding, I'll just tell you this story because I think it's one of my favorite stories from my life. When I was in graduate school, I was writing. I was in a MFA in creative writing after doing a master's degree in creative writing. And in my MFA, I had a professor who was writing a novel, and he was incredibly self-important and arrogant. And I'm just being real. There's no other way to describe it. He drove me nuts. Now I'm sure that he was there also for a reason, you know, for me, for my own shortcomings, because I try to look at difficult people in that way. So it's not like I'm some perfect person either, but like he really drove me crazy. And he consistently told me, you will never get published writing about psychedelics. You need to start writing about something more serious. You're writing stories about ceremonial, ritualistic ayahuasca experiences is immature. It won't get published, So I was the only person from my program who got a book published from a major press, and it was about psychedelics, right? So, you know, and as far as I know, he's still trying to get his first novel published, that professor. Now, I don't say that to be like vindictive or jerky or whatever. It's just that I think a core part about building things is, you kind of know you're on a good path if there are at least a few people who are like, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this. Or even if you have a little inner committee with it that has a professor voice like that says, you'll never get published, grow up, write about something serious, you know. You have to be able to withstand the voices of inner criticism when you're pursuing something you love. I can't tell you how many people come through our programs and they talk about, the difficulty of doing astrology in a marriage with someone who thinks astrology is absolute bogus, or their family members think that, or their extended family or their friends don't understand what they're doing. Of course, there's many people who come in with really supportive spouses and people around them too, but like, when it comes to astrology and developing your relationship with astrology, you have to be able to withstand people telling you it's silly or it's bogus or you can't do it or you'll never be successful doing it, because a lot of people don't really take astrology seriously, unfortunately. All right. Leg day is the worst. Yeah, it is. Well, unless you're my wife, Ashley's got, her program has like, I think she has like 3 leg days a week. Well, she's working on her legs right now, but I mean, I'm like, the women at the gym, obviously a lot of them work on their legs, like more so than the guys for sure. There's some guys there, I'm like, do you even do leg day? Like what? Come on. But anyway, it's funny. Okay, let's see here. I hope you do heavy walking lunges. Best builder for the anterior chain. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I usually I sort of finish my workout on my leg day. The program my coach has for me, I finish with walking lunges, and I have to be a little bit careful because I have my left knee gets really sore if I go too heavy. But yeah, no, it's great. I love that. Will you be doing another live session in the coming days? Yeah, I hope so. Today, I really wanted to introduce everybody, take some Q&A, so I'll probably be coming on again, for sure before the end of the Kickstarter, at least once. All right, let's see here. Personal trainer influencer I know recently told me that discipline is more important than inspiration because discipline means we'll do it regardless if we feel inspired or not. That really stuck. Yeah, the inspiration comes and goes, but the thing is that if you live and die on inspiration alone, you're really not going to be the best channel for it. It's like I've heard Elizabeth Gilbert say this about creative writing: is you show up every day and the muse will appear some days and won't some other days, but you show up anyway because there's something that the muse appreciates about us showing up. The oracle is the same way. I find that the oracle and the muse are very similar concepts. Like you're going to show up every day and make content. The oracle, you guys know, watch my channel and you'll see there's some days where it's just like a fountain of inspiration is pouring through a content for the day. And then other days it's a little bit more routine. And, it's a little bit more like, all right, we're doing a list of 5 things. They're interesting. They're good. But then there's days where you're like, ooh, he's on fire. And I feel that too. It's not me. It's just some days the muse is just pouring through. And, and other days it's like I'm showing up. And I think that's normal. That's how things like this work. Let's see. Do you still use plant medicines on occasion for ceremonial use or recreational, including cannabis? I do not. I maybe once a year for a couple of weeks over the past couple of years, I've done very small microdosing of psilocybin. So we're talking about like minuscule dose where like I'm living my normal life and not feeling like I'm on a psychedelic, right? Microdosing is a very subtle thing. So I've done some microdosing with psilocybin that I have found to be very therapeutic, just gentle little nudges to align myself. And I've really enjoyed that. And other than like maybe altering my state very slightly at like the Grateful Dead concerts I go to with my wife, you know what I mean? Like we're talking very small. I don't need much because 10 years of ayahuasca experience has made me incredibly sensitive to substances. So I just like, I could take a CBD gummy and I'd feel pretty lit. I'm not joking about that. That's just how I am. So I'm pretty careful around that too, because, I was trained to treat entheogens and psychedelic experiences within a ritualistic framework and context. So, you know, I'm pretty intentional about that and don't like to fuck around, you know. You know what I mean? Like, sorry. I just like it when I swear. It's so unexpected, even to me. Okay. Oh, let's see. Uh-oh. Was there a jerk in the comments section? I don't know. Oh, let's see. If there was a jerk in the comment section, I didn't see it, so that's good. All right. Adam, I have a puppy for you. I've been trying to tell you ever since your reading when you told a story about getting a playmate for Hilda. Oh, well, we already have a puppy that we have a litter that's going to be born that we've already place like a deposit with the breeder. So we usually have gotten rescue dogs, and I'm all about that. And by the way, for the 30 people who felt like they had to email me and tell me that I'm not a good human being unless I get another rescue dog, kind of shitty. Just don't, you know, if you don't have something nice to say, or you think that unsolicited advice is like appreciated, just sit and think about it before you email. Not that I mean, so thank you for caring about rescue dogs. I'm just being a little bit of a jerk, but okay, let's see. Oh, let's see here. Okay, let's do some readings. Should we do some readings? I think it's time to do some readings. We're 2 hours in. We've done quite a bit. Oh, which breed? Oh, you know I'm going to talk about this. Yeah. So we have an English Mastiff. Hilda is an English Mastiff, and I really, I'm not kidding you. Since Ashley and I have been together for 13 years, going on 14. My dream dog, which dates back to some neighbors that I had when I was in Georgia, living in Georgia. My neighbors had 2 Cane Corsos, and they were just the most wonderful dogs. I loved them. And I was so scared of them when I first met them because they're very intimidating looking. They're Italian Mastiffs. And I just was like, I fell in love with these dogs. Anyway, I've always wanted one. Ashley warmed up to the idea after getting to know Hilda, an English Mastiff, and realizing that Mastiffs aren't scary. They're like the sweetest, big, lazy, protective dogs ever. So she finally let me have my dream come true. And so we're getting a little Cane Corso puppy in probably like April. But anyway, yeah, they're just, I don't know if you guys know the breed at all, but they look like a Mastiff, but they're kind of look like Panthers, like they're like black. And yeah, they're a guardian type of dog, but also really good family dogs. Hilda will have a playmate, you know, so 2 Mastiffs in the house. I'm stoked. I just can't even explain how excited I am. So anyway. All right, let's do some birth charts. So if you want to come on for a birth chart reading, send me your time, date, location of birth to grabbed@nightlightastrology.com. Grabbed@nightlightastrology.com. Time, date, location of birth, and tell me what you want to talk about. Give me your name in there too. And really, like, what I will do is send you a link to join me in the studio. So then you'll come on and we'll do a reading together. And Lily says, I'm a professional dog groomer. They are the sweetest. Yeah. Yeah, they really are. I'll see if I can show you guys a picture if you've never seen one before, because they're just so cool. Here, this is a picture of what one looks like. They look like here, hold on. Okay, there's a Cane Corso. Can you guys see that? I don't know if that's showing up or not. I hope it's showing up, but yeah, that's what they look like. They're actually like boxier and not quite as big as Hilda. like probably about the same weight, but not as tall and long as Hilda. English Mastiffs are like a little taller and longer. They're a little bit boxier. Anyway, I could talk about the dogs. Just so excited. You see, someone said you need a cat, but the problem is that I'm allergic to cats. Doesn't that suck? Yeah. I would love to have cats. I anytime that I'm with a cat and it crawls onto my lap, like I'm in serious trouble. Like my face turns red, like it's bonkers. Okay. I am going to turn my attention now to the inbox. I hope that you sent over some things here. Let's see. Okay. I've got to send you the login. So remember to check your email. Now I'm sending you guys logins to those of you who sent me your birth data. And we'll get you in here. All righty. Sending him back to you guys now. All righty. By the way, here's an idea. Every single person who has submitted their data for a reading, hop over and pitch in $5 for the Kickstarter. How about that? Oh, I'm playing. Don't feel guilty and coerced. I'm a Cancer. I'm really good at making people feel, if I need to like subtly, Cancers are really good at that. we use emotional guilt. Cancer manipulation. Okay, let's see here. Thank you. I know a lot of you have already pitched in. Some of you are showing up, but your video is not showing up. So I can't bring you on unless your video is showing. All right. I've sent to a number of you now. Let me just All right. All right. I've sent to like 4 or 5 people now, so I'm just going to see who comes in. Emily. Hey. Can you hear me? Oh, you're muted. Can you hear me, Emily? All right, we're going to remove Emily. We'll come back to her in a little bit. See if we can't get that figured out. Your audio is not working there, Emily. And Adrian, did I say that right? Okay, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, hi.
Perfect. Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Good, great. I am going to pull up your birth chart here. Hold on, let me get this set up. What is your date of birth?
4/24/91.
And the time?
9:15 p.m.
And the place?
Washington, D.C.
Fantastic. What do we want to look at today?
Well, I listen to the podcast and I try and like stay up on the transits, and then I've been like looking at my own. I was like, oh, it feels kind of active. But I don't really like, I do tarot and I do like my own stuff, but I've never really had like a solid way of like, I do some astrology, but it's just hard for me to look at my own chart.
Yeah, sure. Is there a specific topic you'd like to talk about? Does this look like your chart too, Scorpio rising?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, is there? It sometimes helps if there's like a specific area of life, a specific question, something maybe that would help us to give you some guidance or thoughts on.
Well, I'm about to like propose for my dissertation. So I'm a grad student. I'm trying to like refine all of my ideas down into something that's like doable in the time and with the like skill set that I have now. So I feel like I've been getting into like a lot of like different fields, and like I'm trying to whittle it down to like doing what I need to do and doing it well.
Sure. Yeah. Let's take a look at what is probably the biggest transit forming in your chart right now. And that is going to be the application of transiting Pluto in Aquarius to your sun and to Jupiter in Leo. So you have this Sun-Jupiter square. There's a little square from Saturn down here in the fourth as well. So it's kind of a T square. Can you see that, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So in the next couple of years, between now and let's say 2026, you're going to be getting Pluto in a square to your sun and to Jupiter. This is really significant because the sun is not only one of the most important symbols when it comes to each of our individual life purposes. Our individual sense of life purpose is something that we can often see through the placement of the sun, through transits to the sun. The reason for that is if you think about the sun, one of the things that can help us understand this symbolism is to think about the sun as something that rises, culminates, and sets. So that arc is associated with the human life. We are born, we rise up into adulthood, we play some role up in the world, out in the world, and then we decline into something like retirement and old age and death. And that's kind of an archetypal story arc for life. So where the sun is placed in the chart is often associated with the arc of the lifetime and some of the themes that will become really central and important. So the Pluto transit to the sun by square is very significant because the effect of Pluto is to create a very powerful level of transformation of circumstance with respect to life purpose when it hits the sun. The sun is in the seventh house, which means that for you, the sense of purpose may run through something like marriage or sexuality and relationships. It may have something to do with the interpersonal dynamics of a career. You know, working with people is a very ruler of the 10th house of career in the 7th house of intimate human relationships. A lot of counselors, coaches, people who work intimately with others in some capacity, teacher, coach, guide, you know, someone who has some kind of caring skill set. Sometimes you'll see that connected to the 10th house ruler in the 7th. But whatever the case may be, we're also dealing with Jupiter here in your career house and in Leo, the sun sign. So there's a square between the sun and Jupiter with reception, which means that Pluto hitting both of these at the same time is for sure going to be bringing up questions about purpose, leadership, position, role, voice, authority, mastery, and life purpose, vocation, life purpose, and all these other qualities I mentioned kind of go together here. It could be that in the next couple of years, some kind of transformation with respect to like marriage and relationships as well as career are going to be really intimately linked to one another. But the next 2 years are major with respect to the continued evolution of life purpose, but maybe like somehow coming alongside of things like relationships or deeper interpersonal transformation that's occurring. Before I say anything more, what comes up for you, or does that resonate or make sense so far?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely have some like personal stuff going on with people that are like sort of loosely related to my career and kind of like having to make decisions around that. But yeah, I think that is resonating for me.
What may I ask what you do right now? Are you working or?
I mean, I'm a graduate assistant in food access.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So, yeah.
And when will you finish that?
I think in like 3 years. I think I'll
Okay.
be done maybe in 2.5, maybe how hard I
So,
hustle.
so you see how the Pluto transit,
Oh,
by
yeah.
the time 2026 is over, will probably
Yeah.
coincide with you entering the workforce on some level after finishing school.
Yeah.
And probably finding the right company or the right position of leadership or ability. So I think that the transition between finishing graduate school and finding a meaningful job is probably what we're seeing here in the next 2 to 3 years with the Pluto transit. So what I would say on that level is just trust the process, trust the journey, because that Pluto transit isn't going to bring you a big nothing burger. So so like this, it's a big transit. You can totally anticipate that by the end of the next few years, your life path is going to look really different. And probably, Pluto loves to empower things. Empowering a Sun Jupiter square across the 10th and the 4th probably means giving you a post with a lot of responsibility and some degree of leadership and oversight or management, or someone that you're working with that you really believe in. Sun Jupiter needs to feel a connection, that's charismatic and inspired. If they're going to be working with a leader or be under someone, it has to be someone that inspires and motivates. The shadow of this might be Pluto hitting those planets can bring up people that you don't want to work with because you find that the way that they wield authority or power is not your cup of tea. So working through that may be a part of it. Sometimes that comes up under Pluto transits, but yeah, I think the next couple of years is looking really interesting. The other thing I would say is, you've got a couple of eclipses in your 11th house this year with a moon there, the moon ruling the 9th. You could anticipate some shifts in the educational environment and the community space of your life that will be pretty meaningful. March and September, the eclipses there will start changing the environment around things like colleagues, friends, academics, and so forth. Adrian, thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate you. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for being a guinea pig for us so we could do a little astrology. It really is nice. Everyone learns a lot from it. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for your service.
Yeah, take it easy. Bye. Okay, Britt.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, we're still going. My coffee's empty though, so it's gonna be a problem soon.
Ruh-roh.
I'm kidding. Okay, so what's your date of birth?
3/6/86.
And the time?
9:13 a.m.
And the place?
Seattle, Washington.
Okay, I have you as Taurus rising. Does that sound right?
Yep.
Oh, you're Taurus rising with the moon in the 9th, just like me. We're astro twins.
Yeah, I was kind of picking that up as you were sharing.
Okay, let me see here. So is this okay now? You can see it on the screen?
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
looking at my
perfect.
phone and see it. I'm just squinting.
Okay. What do we want to talk about?
I feel I've definitely felt the last Pluto transit. I went to school for life coaching after I went to nursing school, and then I went to life coaching school, and I'm now practicing. I really dove into astrology and tarot and that side of things over this last year and a half, just all self-taught. But I feel a call to really go in with my business. And I know Pluto's in my 10th house. So I don't know. I kind of want to know more about that and what that might look like.
Yeah. When you say go all in, tell me what that looks like to you, or what that would mean.
That would mean, just as you were talking about, like daily devotion practice, like once my cat moon too, right? So once I say I'm going to do something, like showing up and doing it every day, I came back from that a little bit because the life coach school was a lot. I have 4 kids, so that, and then working full time as a nurse from home, took a lot of time from the family. So if I go all in, I want to try to do it in a balanced way. And so if there's any like oppositions or things that might show up in the family or stuff like that, I would like to know about it.
Okay. what's your biggest fear or worry, or like what in your mind stands in the way of doing it? Like what's the biggest fear?
It was really difficult with my relationship with my husband when I was giving that much time. I mean, on the other side of it, we have such better communication and understanding and support and all of those lovely things. But I think that there's a bit of like a little PTSD of stepping into that space again.
Mm-hmm. And now you're still together?
Yeah, we're still together.
Yeah. Okay.
We've
Good.
been
Just making sure I understood that.
Since we were 12 years old.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's interesting. So, okay. Let's think about this for just a second. One thing that I'll just say that, oh, go ahead.
He is a Leo rising, and I know Pluto's going through his 7th house. So that might be a fear of mine too.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Well, one thing that comes to my mind is that you're about to complete a Uranus conjunction to your ascendant. Like it'll turn direct. It's been over your ascendant a few times. It's going to turn direct and go over one final time in the next couple of months here. It does feel, when, as a fellow Taurus rising, right? When Uranus is going over the ascendant, there are ways in which we become freer in ourselves somehow. And one of the things that I can feel with the Cap Moon is like, I've had duties, I have obligations, I have responsibilities. And yet in the year ahead, look at these things that will happen. We have a couple of them that all suggest a kind of loosening of the role that you play and less restriction. Uranus over the ascendant, like that's a big one. But even more powerful is Pluto in your 10th, squaring the nodes across the 1st and the 7th. And with the South Node Pluto in the 7th, and then Mars, Saturn, Uranus in the 8th, one of the soul karmas might be in the past to liberate myself from the expectations or emotional entanglements, or even in maybe some cases, in previous lives, maybe some bondage in relationships where it felt like you were stuck or trapped or coerced or something. That there's some emphasis with the North Node in Taurus on cultivating what feels good to you, right? So sort of simple Taurus 1st house North Node, like what feels good, who am I free of the emotional inertia or the emotional obligations, and also the very real dependencies that exist in my life. I'm dependent upon my spouse upon me, my kids upon me, and so on and so forth. Pluto squaring these nodes while Uranus goes over the ascendant suggests, I think, that there may be a way in which you can bring forth new parts of yourself without totally shattering the dependencies that exist. I mean, isn't that the kind of balance that we're looking for, right? It's like I can do a few things, but in order to do them, I do have to take some risks and become somehow freer in myself. The other transit that to me speaks to some need to maybe soften some of the feelings, the weighty Capricorn moon feelings of obligation that may, hold you back a little, would be, hey, you're going to be in a year where Jupiter's opposing your moon from Cancer. I think that as someone, native moon in Capricorn, when I reflect back on Jupiter's last transit through Cancer, I look at a time in which I seriously started softening some of the duty-bound features of my personality. Still showing up, like I've still showed up to do my content every day, but there's a way in which you can hold things that are lighter, looser, more trusting, easier somehow emotionally. So I suspect that a year in which Jupiter opposes your moon, Pluto's squaring the nodes, Uranus is going over your ascendant, that the opportunity to exist in a marriage, in a family, where you show up and do the things you need to do, but you don't feel stuck or trapped by those things, and you can take some healthy risks to move forward with your career, even if it's just incrementally at first. Pluto's got, a couple years here where it's going to be hovering around the square to those nodes. Uranus has another whole year hanging around your ascendant. Jupiter will take a good year to oppose Neptune and the moon from the 3rd to the 9th. So maybe a year also in which you gain confidence and start incrementally building your business and your services and your skills and sort of leaning into them more, but not in some huge way that makes it feel like there's too much stress or pressure being put on you or on the moment to deliver more than it can. So I would say, Cap, it's always a good idea to go incrementally with things anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is great advice. I know that about myself. Oh, are you there? Am I here?
Oh my gosh, I accidentally got booted. Can you see me?
Yeah, now I can see you.
Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Sorry, say what you were going to say.
Oh, I think because I know that about myself, that when I go, you're asking me to define all in on something, I can be a bit of a, I would almost say like obsessive, like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And I know that about myself. So knowing that is half the battle, right? And just doing one step at a time.
Yeah, totally. Britt, I hope this was useful for you. Can kind of take what you're going through and put it in a larger context that also allows you to just breathe and trust the process. I think these transits really, in a big picture way, they just say everything that you want and need is in a process right now. We can see the exact tension points that you mentioned: career, identity, marriage, family. We can see them all constellated. And in a year with all of those things happening, I suspect that if you just tend to the process and stay true to what you feel your calling is within the situation, that there's, a way through will come.
Thanks.
Yeah, you bet. Hey, have a great rest of your year. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, bye. Okay, I'm going to have one more person on before we end for the day. I'm going to try Emily again because we tried earlier, but your audio wasn't working. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, great. And I apologize to everyone else that I'm not going to be able to get to today who's in the waiting room. Thank you guys for coming on. Try again next time. I'll make sure I try to get you on. And in the subject of your next email, you can also put, "I didn't get on last time." I was there, but you couldn't get to me. Okay, let me see if I can put your chart up on the screen here, Emily. What's your date of birth?
August 5th, 1985.
Time?
2:47 p.m.
And place?
Warwick, Rhode Island.
So I've got you as a Scorpio rising.
Yep, it seems to be the theme today.
It is. All the Scorpios. Okay. Tell me, is the moon in Scorpio right now? I feel like it was.
Is it?
Maybe it's moved on to Sag by now. Anyway. Okay. So tell me, what are we going to talk about?
Kind of similar to our other Scorpio rising, purpose, just life purpose. I'm kind of feeling like I'm at a little bit of a crossroads. In terms of,
tell me what. Yeah.
Just creativity and cerebral work. It's kind of where I'm figuring out whether I should diverge or not.
Okay. Can you tell me what you've done to this point? What's felt good, maybe what hasn't, and maybe what you're also dreaming of or thinking about for the future?
Yeah. So I work in the solar industry right now, and I have worked in medicine in the past, both animal and human, which I loved, both the helping people aspect, not like the corporate aspect of that. But I'm kind of trying to decide whether I want to go back for dietitian school, sort of with a focus on herbalism. That's kind of where my interest is with that. But I also do a lot of art, and creativity is like, it feels good. So I'm trying to decide if I want to move more in a direction of, starting an art business.
Okay.
So very, very different things.
Yeah. I think I'm getting a feedback of my own voice through your speakers.
Oh, I'll mute myself and see if that helps.
Yeah, let's see if that works. Okay. So the art business is that sounds like it's really where your heart's at. Would you say that?
I would say art or helping people.
Okay.
So something that does one of the things I think would be more aligned.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Well, one of the things that would come to my mind right away is you've got a year in which exalted Jupiter will be in the house of Venus in your chart. That's significant because if there is a Venusian dimension to life that you feel doesn't quite have the right outlet or is seeking some kind of outlet, we have to kind of ask ourselves, like, well, why would that be the case? You know, and what would activate some kind of what would activate the expression of that artistic impulse? Well, it would be a transit to Venus, you know, and we can see you've got Mars having gone through Cancer in the 9th somewhat recently, and then the first months of the year, Mars will be retrograde in Cancer in the 9th house. So I wonder what that's about. That's interesting to me. But then Jupiter entering in June would certainly bring some relief if there's, I don't know, if there's any kind of tension around Venus, around art, which there could be in the early part of the year. But then Jupiter entering that house in June makes me feel like, okay, now we're looking at something that wants to grow. Jupiter is a super fertile planet, and when it is in Cancer, it's prolific, you know. So I wonder about June of this year, or June of 25 to June of 26, as a year within which the need for Venus to find outlets will grow and find natural, like fertile ground, so to speak. So that, to me, that's very promising. I think that, you know, you have a lot of fortune in that house and Venus, but the moon is in the 6th. One of the things that I find really interesting about that is that there's some, like, when I think about that combination, for example, I think about someone I know who has, I was just looking at their chart, and they are someone who homeschools their kids and is very passionate about issues that have to do with agriculture, ecological protection, kind of like homesteading, homeschooling, but they're very passionate. The moon in the 6th, ruling the 9th, is a bit like a Joan of Arc. Like it needs like a mission, and it needs something to kind of fight for, advocate for, defend, protect. It's a very passionate, fiery moon that has some Mars energy. Well, you've got Mars and the Sun in the 10th, you know, so it just makes me feel like one of the things that could be behind the studio is the feeling of having something of your own that you can advocate for, that you can put yourself into. Like a funny thing about Marsy people is that, you know, some people will say, well, they're you know, oh, it's like a Mars person might be domineering or overpowering, or they, you know, it's like, well, some Mars people are not that way at all, but they'll go crazy if they don't feel like they have something of their own. And that something of your own can be your own passion, your own convictions, your own beliefs, your own company, your own studio, your own role to play that feels meaningful and like it's something that is yours. Like if you're given work, but you don't have the space to really occupy your post with your own mojo, it's not going to work very well for a Mars Sun in the 10th. And the reason I keep thinking about this with Venus in your chart is because Venus is hosted by the moon in Aries in the 6th, who's trining those very fiery planets in the 10th. So it's like, there's something very caring and maternal and artistic and sensitive. And, you know, you're like a moon child with Venus in the 9th house, like a pagan goddess painting in an art studio or something, right? It feels really nice. But then there's this very fiery part of your chart that really needs to have a space of its own and really care and act with great conviction and stuff like that. So I'm looking at this and just going like, I wonder if that's behind the entrepreneurial impulse. And I wonder, so that could do the trick. Having something of your own might be a really good idea. On the other hand, finding a role to play that you feel gives you enough space to, like, you know, it's like being the commander of your own post for something that you care about within a company or some other workspace, I think would also work, but it would have to, it'd have to empower you, if that makes sense.
absolutely does. That all resonates a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. To that effect, I do think that Jupiter in Cancer in the next year may help you find that outlet for Venus. But what I also find really interesting is that you do have this gradual, slow burning development of Pluto going into an opposition with your Mars. That's going to really bring up for you things that arise naturally that have a collective dimension. Where do you belong? Where do you call home? Who do you connect with? What is the culture? What is the group? What are the causes? What are the concerns that have a larger social reality? That's the Pluto in Aquarius. And then how do you find some meaningful role of action or leadership, or how do you participate with a sense of your own, for Leo's, dignity and pride, and feeling like you have you have a little crown that's invisible that you're wearing, but it's like you have to have that. So I think that the other thing that's like building in your chart in general is this feeling of like, how do I bring things together where there's some social or collective dimension of my life. I'm living for something bigger than myself, but also I have enough space to feel good about me and what I bring and what I'm doing. And I just wonder if that's not secretly at work in the desire to have your own studio. Do you know what I mean? So it's not necessarily that the entrepreneurial studio thing is the answer, although it could be. It's more about, do you feel like you have enough room to, you have to fill a space when you've got that much Leo energy with your own, do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, yeah. I think the other thing, you look at the month of March with the 2 retrogrades in Aries, Neptune moving into Aries, that 6th house is going to become extremely important for you. And for me, the simplest way of looking at the 6th house, a 6th house moon, is going to be, what are the things that you are pouring yourself into with sacrifice, dedication, service? What's the work or the great labor of your life that's starting to emerge? Neptune Saturn will have you deeply concerned with suffering and with people who are experiencing misfortune, and probably compel you to want to play a role as a caregiver, service provider. So, there's just an interesting series of connections in your chart. Like Venus in Cancer is very different from all the fiery energies in your 10th and 6th, right? It's like night and day. So finding a way to care, to work, to affect change, to feel strong and bold and powerful, sacrificial, caring. Like you said, I work for people, or I could have an art studio. Well, it's sort of like, well, how are the two going to come together? And I would just leave room in the next year and in the coming years with Pluto opposing your Mars, for things to find a way of working together. And sometimes the initial ideas that we have, like, well, I could do this or I could do that. It's like, just give it time, and there'll be some very interesting way in which these qualities that are all a part of you will come to bear on your life.
All super helpful, Adam. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad to help. Let me just see here. One other thing. Yeah, so you also have Uranus tracking over your descendant in the year ahead. That could bring some really interesting shifts in relationships. Venus, Jupiter going over Venus in Cancer, also like relational transit, potentially love, relationships. So with Uranus, it's always expect the unexpected, but also breakthroughs, liberation, excitement. So wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of romance in the air for you in the next year. Are you married already?
I am. Yep. I've got 2 little kids.
Okay. Then it could be also shifts for your spouse. Like, Uranus over the descendant could mean he's changing jobs, or but there could be almost like an energy of awakening and renaissance that comes in through your life. For Venus, it's not really about the art, but it's about love. Emily, thank you. Okay, good. Emily, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, you bet. Have a great rest of your day, and Happy New Year too.
Happy New Year.
Okay. Well, this has been a marathon session of 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'm going to end it here, but first, I want to remind you guys that we need some support for the Kickstarter. We are at, let's see, where are we? We're at 1,029 backers, which means we've raised the support of like 40 backers or so since we started this live stream today. That is fantastic. If we want to catch up with where we were last year at this time, which is incredibly important for us meeting our goals, we still need like 100 more backers today. So if you haven't already backed the channel, every single donation of any amount whatsoever really does help. I'm going to put the link to donate with just about 4 days left. We still need like just under 900 backers now. So here is the link to donate. Every donation matters. It all counts. It all helps. If you appreciate this channel, please consider being one of our backers. $5 donation, or pick up classes and come study with us. You got to see our program, learn a little bit about our programs today, hear from our staff. So thank you all for being so supportive and generous. To the 1,029 people on this channel who have pitched in and supported, thank you from me, my family, all of my staff. And I hope that you guys will have a nice weekend. I will also be back. You'll probably see a live stream scheduled for Monday or Tuesday, but I'll probably do maybe 2 more before the end, just to try to rally last minute support and see if we can't get to that 1,937. Anyhow, have a great rest of your day, and we will see you again soon. Bye, everybody.